Hi, everyone, and welcome to this week's Global Intelligence Update. As always, we've got a great guest with us. Joining us this week is Kevin George, and he's going to talk about using your mind to lose weight. But let me just do a quick introduction on Kevin in case you don't know who he is. So Kevin George, host of the 100 Pounds to Freedom podcast, spent years chasing change the hard way. Every fad diet, every extreme workout, every miracle plan that promised results but never lasted. The breakthrough came when he stopped searching for the next quick fix and started studying the science of habits and habit stacking. But rewiring his mindset and building small compounding behaviors, Kevin unlocked a 100-pound transformation. Looking forward to it. Now he helps others do the same, breaking free from mental patterns and unsustainable approaches that keep them trapped in cycles of self-sabotage. Through his speaking and coaching podcast, Kevin teaches practical strategies to rewire thinking and building habits that make healthy choices automatically so lasting change becomes inevitable. His mission is to help you use your mind daily, actions to create the body, health, and freedom you've always wanted. George, Kevin George, welcome. And thanks for
Oh,
joining us.
thank you. Thank you for the awesome introduction, Chris. I really appreciate that. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome along. We're going to have a bit of a fun ride. Well, it's this evening for me. I'm here in New Zealand, and I see some friendly faces there. Look at those love hearts from Philippe. I'm feeling the love, bro. Yeah. Very nice, very nice. So we're going to break this into three segments. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about my story and play a video and understand that this podcast that I'm hosting, 100 Pounds to Freedom, it's raw and it's real. Okay. So there'll be some raw and some realness in the video. Make sure you're over 18. And then we're going to dive into just some of the things that helped me using my mind and some tools and that sort of thing that I still use today. Because this journey, it's kind of like if you're an alcoholic, right? Any alcoholics in the house? No. But you never, when you get sober, right? They say you're still an alcoholic. Well, it could be a little bit like that if you used to carry around a lot of weight. I was fat for years and years. So the last 15 specifically, and then before that for a couple of years I'd sort of lost a bit, but and then another 15 before that. So the majority of my life, and it always kind of eluded me. And I would try, as Chris was just saying, every fad diet, everything under the sun, like you name it, I have tried it. We're talking vegan, keto, carnivore, the list goes on, fasting, water fasting, intermittent fasting. And it wasn't really until I started with my mind that things really started to kick in. So that's a little brief sort of intro. I'm going to play you a video in a second. But before I do, I want you to know that this is a two-way conversation, okay? So any questions you have, feel free to interrupt. Maybe not while the video is playing. That probably wouldn't be cool. But after that, okay? So any questions you have, just feel free to come in and ask them because, that'll flow nicely from here. So a little bit about my story, some tools, some mindset things that I did. And then what it's like, I thought this might be interesting for some of you, what it's like to pursue a career, build a business, and then all of a sudden think, this isn't really what I want to do anymore. Like, I want to follow what I'm incredibly passionate about, something that has changed my life and lowered my metabolic age by 20 years. This is what I want to do. And what it's like to do that when you're 53 years old, where most people are thinking about, how long before I retire, starting something completely new. And then not even really thinking about monetizing it, just thinking, oh, I need to do that at some stage down the track, but just doing it because you want to help guide people through this journey, this prison, this fat suit that they've been living in, that is not them, that is not the best version of them. So without any further ado, let's crack into this. Let's crack into this video. I'll share my screen here. Window. Here we go. Bam. Also share tab audio. Yep, that is on. Okay. All right. So let me know. Feel free to unmute or drop it in the chat. Can you guys see the YouTube thumbnail there? Chris, can you see that? Everyone can see that?
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, cool. All right, let's roll. If the audio isn't playing, just jump in and let me know. Okay, here we go. This is a little bit of an intro, right, into my story.
Welcome to 100 Pounds to Freedom. This isn't a podcast about six-pack abs. It's about what happens when you decide to change your life and you don't give up. Raw and real human stories of transformation from the inside out, resulting in massive weight loss, renewed confidence, energy, and most importantly of all, a winning mindset. Rewiring your brain to live your best life.
Looking in the mirror, just thinking, like, so disgusted in how I looked. What the fuck are you doing with your life? Like, look at you. You can't even get dressed.
Barely able to stand, torrents of blood. Oh, fuck, I'm going to die. And then everything went black. Doctors, and straight away they're like, look, medication, anxiety, depression, mid-bipolar, depression.
I've lost 100 pounds, 45 kgs, and at my heaviest, I didn't just feel unhealthy, I felt unrecognizable. I faked so much shit just to get through the days, it's not even funny. Consciously having to change my state just to get out of the freaking car before meetings, social functions, family, friends. And those are the ones that I didn't cancel because something came up again. I was putting on a smile for everyone else, and the problem was, man, the dude I was looking at in the mirror, he wasn't smiling back. Food was my crack. I was addicted. I would stress and then eat to calm the stress and then get depressed because I overate again. Fast food, chips, anything that would give me that high, that momentary minute of relief. And after years of trying, like every diet under the sun, I realized that the problem was not the diet or the plan. It was my mind. So Christmas time, a couple of years back, I thought, I'm not even going to go on a diet. I'm not even going to work out. I'm going to reshape my mind, my habits, and change my identity, my body, and my future. I lowered my metabolic age by 20 years. What would life look like if I didn't do that? Man, I was heading towards diabetes, heart disease, an early grave. So now, I'm on a little bit of a mission, to be honest. I feel compelled, I feel obligated to help others reclaim their identity, their well-being, their life through the power of story.
I was on the way to dying, you know? It's like the big question is, do I even matter?
Mummy, I've got a surprise for you. My heart sank. She just wants a mum. She has these beautiful crystal blue eyes. Knife through my heart, tears streaming down her face. When are we going to get the fun, Mum? And I literally just dropped to my knees, sobbing, and hugged her. And I realised in that moment, I had to change.
How did they build trust with themselves? What stories did they have to let go of? What version of them had to die so that the next one could live? And if you're on your own journey, if you've tried and restarted, just like me, more times than you can count, then this is for you. In the hopes that you can see freedom in your future and whatever that looks like or means to you. Most weight loss stories stop at the surface level. The diets, the before after pics and the macros, and why we will cover that. What we're going to dig into is that behind every real transformation is a human being who changed from the inside out. And this series is about those stories. This series is dedicated to unpacking that. This is 100 Pounds to Freedom. And each episode is going to feature someone who has lost a significant amount of weight and is willing to speak honestly about the mental, emotional, and identity shifts behind the change. And we want to have a little bit of fun. Okay, so the vibe is going to be real, it's going to be grounded, but it's going to be unfiltered. We're going to be naming the messy, powerful truth of personal transformation. And if you yourself, if you're watching this and you've lost a lot of weight and you want to share your story and you want to help others, then reach out. Let's talk about getting you on the show and spread this mission and help more people and impact more lives and lower obesity in our world. We're fucking eating ourselves to death. It's time it stopped.
I don't ever want to go back to where I was.
There we go. And we're back. We're back. Let's get some conversation happening. Unmute. Any questions? Did anything resonate with anyone there?
How long did you take? How long was the journey?
Oh yeah, 4.5 years. That's a great. That's
every day. It's a lifestyle now.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. It took 4.5 years. So I dropped 20 kg. So it's basically around 45 kg, a little more. I dropped 20 kg really quite quickly within the first few months. But I think my identity was happy around that weight, around that 108, 110 kg weight. And I just stayed there because I'd been there for like years and years and years. So when I got back down to there, it's like, this is my comfort zone. And so my rituals, my routines fell off. And I'd go yo-yo up and down from there, back and forth again. And it was only really the last 12 months that I kicked into another gear. And I thought, no, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna take it all the way. So so October last year, I know this because I got a scan, one of those DEXA scans, which I highly recommend if no one's had one. October 99 gave me a wake-up call. October 99. October last year, 2024, gave me a wake-up call. It was the 12th of October. And I got a DEXA scan and I was 99 kgs, which to me was a massive win, right? Like I was 120. It's like I'm under 100. It's like, yeah. And then it came up with my visceral fat, which was 14, which is high. And that's the fat, if you don't know, surrounding your organs, which is really dangerous, right? And it said my metabolic age was 58. And at the time I was 52. And I was like, there's no way I'm older than I am. And that really lit a fire under me. I got re-scanned a couple of times since then. And in May, actually it was May 12th, I got a scan and I'd lowered my metabolic age down to 38 years old. And so it was just, in 7 months' time. So it was a massive, massive win. For me there. So that's a long answer to your question, Claire. You got to stop me every now and then. I'll keep going. Yeah. Anyone else?
You're going to have to tell us how you done it then.
Oh, yeah. There's a special link.
That was my one question.
Oh, really?
Okay. Yeah, right. Okay. Come on, go. Give it to us.
Let's dive into that. Okay. Obviously, we don't have time to go through the entire 4.5 years day by day, but I have made a couple of notes and highlighted some things that made key shifts for me. Okay. So it's probably a good time to get into it. So when I said on that video that I started with my mind, that was true, right? Because I tried everything, I thought, man, nothing's working. Like I felt completely helpless. Nothing was sticking. And it was Christmas time. And I remember going down to my cousin's batch, right? In a very cool part of New Zealand called the Coromandel, if you ever get a chance. It's very cool. And I was down there and, he's a big diver, drinks a lot of beer, probably like a lot of South Africans, right? We were down there and eating and having beers, and I had this book from James Clear, Atomic Habits. A few of you probably have read that. It's an amazing book. And for 2 weeks, I just read that book and I went through it and I started journaling what habits I'm going to form and what I'm going to link together. And there were heaps of different ones, and I downloaded like a habit tracking app and all the rest of it. And to be fair, I probably went a bit over the top, and some habits went to the wayside and all the rest of it. But some habits that really helped are things like, and there's actually data on this, you can Google this, but it really worked for me. So getting my gym clothes prepared the night before, like literally folded, shoes, socks, track pants, shirt, hoodie, and have everything ready the night before. And I would pair that with, say, making a cup of green tea or something like that. So whatever you normally do now, that's not a bad habit. Linking something new to it is a really powerful way to remember a new habit. And here's how that worked out for me. In the middle of winter, when it's dark in NZ, 6 a.m., there's no way you want to get out of a warm bed when you're starting this exercise regime and go to the gym, right? I would lie to myself. I would say, I've just got to get dressed, okay? And I didn't research this part of it. It's just what worked for me, because I knew lying in bed, there was no way I was going to get up and go to the gym. So I'd lie to myself, say, I just got to get dressed. And then it's like, I've just got to go out and jump in the van and start it. And then I've just got to go and drive to the gym. And then I've just got to walk in the gym. And once I was in there, I was right. But if I had to go from the bed, and many of you have probably experienced this, thinking, oh, should I get up? I really should. And then you start justifying it, right? I worked out yesterday. I worked out the day before. I can take a day off. And this is when you start to form a new habit of not going. Okay. And if that habit streak ends up being, 2, 3, 4 days, next minute you're not going. And what plagued me was I went through years of this, and I just wasn't aware of it. I just didn't recognize that that's where it started. I would start this new habit, and that would sometimes end up being 3 weeks or even 3 months before I'd go again to the gym. So forming little habits like that really, really helped me, especially in the beginning, right? I don't need, I suppose when you're on let's say I was on the other side of it. Okay. And I know I'm not out of the woods yet, because, this is new. I only had 100 pounds down on 8th of July. So it's very new for me. And the podcast first episode actually came out on July 10th, and the pressure was on because I knew I couldn't launch it unless I'd lost 100 pounds. Right. So there was a lot of pressure on there. But for example, now I'll have water. So when I have water in the morning, I'll put sea salt in it, or you can use Celtic salt or Himalayan salt, and and a little bit of lemon juice, and I'll have 2 full glasses of water and then coffee, and I pair that with a walk. So I'll do a 10K walk in the morning now, and I don't need to think about it, because it's just now a habit. Like that is me now. I do that in the morning. Okay, so little things like that. What else have I got here? Tools. Do any of you use any kind of fitness app, like a calorie tracker? Feel free to drop it in the chat. Anyone use a calorie tracker or anything like that? Here we go. Nope. Okay. All right. Okay. I use an app called MyFitnessPal, and in the very beginning of that video was I don't know if you remember it, but you may have seen a very big girl. That was my daughter. Okay. And she actually lost 60 kg, lost more than me. And she had a gastric sleeve. She had some medical stuff going on as well. So we opted for the gastric sleeve, and it's worked out really well for her. But the point being is, she introduced me to MyFitnessPal, and I religiously use that. I was on it half an hour ago. Okay. So I enter every single thing I eat into that app. And because we might be thinking, oh, this portion I'll have that, or whatever. And we don't actually know the calories that are coming into our bodies, we know that because history tells us, hey, we may expend 2,000 calories just in a normal day, maybe without even working out, but we don't actually know how many we're consuming if we're just kind of eating this, that, and the other thing. So I track everything religiously in there, and I highly recommend it. The free version has amazing features. You can scan a barcode when you're shopping and it can tell you, all the stuff in it. You can enter the amount of grams you're eating of that product or whatever. So highly recommend MyFitnessPal. That's my go-to every day. Kitchen scales. Okay. And it may seem a bit over the top to you guys, but an hour and a half ago, I was weighing 25 grams of avocado. Okay. I just do it now. It is just a habit. I want to know how many calories and what percentage of proteins, fats, and carbohydrates are going into my body. We'll jump into macros soon. There might be some Q&A around that, but I use kitchen scales. I would say easy a dozen times a day. Okay. And we'll jump into we'll talk about a bit of meal prep later on and how I use it. And again, this works for me. Okay. This is what I do. So yeah. What else? Yeah. Macros, proteins, fats, and carbs. So keeping your protein, there's different, like if you chuck it in Chat GPT or you Google it, there's different schools of thought, but they're usually around, 1 gram or 1.2 or maybe 0.8 of a gram of protein per pound of body weight or per pound of lean body weight. There's different sort of schools of thoughts there. But for me, I'm currently 82 kg. I will have between 165 and 180, sometimes 190 grams of protein a day. Protein is kind of like that hardwood in a fire, right? Like it just keeps your metabolism burning. And it's so important for many things. Like it keeps you satiated. So it keeps you full longer. And it just really helps build muscle as well. And the more muscle you have, the faster your metabolism will go as well, which is your rate at which you're expending energy, right? At which you're, burning those calories. So those are that's a real short list of the main things. But let's talk about, we'll jump into the mind first, the habit stacking, and then we'll go into the emotional side of things. Okay. So I just want to make sure I sign off on the habit stacking. So you can create habits with anything, and they could be visual cues or they could be something that you stack together. For example, you might put a water bottle beside your bed. So you remember, hey, I'm going to fill that up in the morning and I'm going to put some electrolytes in it and take that with me. Or, you might stack, okay, I'm going to brush my teeth at night, and that's the same time I'm going to prep my lunch for tomorrow, instead of, let's say you drive to work, instead of getting whatever, for lunch from the local cafe, because you want to know what's going inside your body. You want to maybe start focusing on more whole foods and less processed foods. So linking a couple of habits together can be really good. I highly recommend reading James Clear's book, Atomic Habits. If you don't have time for a book, his book, as well as a stack of other books, it's a little bit of a hack. If you type in book summary in the name of the book on YouTube, you'll usually get a 15-minute summary of all the key points. So that can sort of be a little cheat sheet to get you going if you don't have time to go through an entire book. But let's talk about just before we do that, anyone have any questions around habits? Does anyone have a habit stack at the moment? Feel free to unmute yourself. Is there any two things you pair together?
Can I ask a question? Can you hear me?
Yeah, absolutely. Hi.
So yeah, I'm hearing about the habits and stuff. So I'm actually very bad at doing all my habits. And I think my challenge is that I don't eat enough. So I would be really intrigued to hear how I can use my mind to eat more, because I only have like 2 meals, but I really don't eat well. I'll have eggs and then I'll have a protein lunch kind of thing.
Right.
So
Okay. Yeah, first question for you, Melanie, is how do you feel? Like, do you have sustained energy through the day? You don't. Does your energy go up and then go down, or does it
I've
spike
I've
after you eat?
naturally got a lot of energy in the morning always. So like
Yeah.
after lunch. But I think that's just my line energy, but mornings are much better than evenings.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, things like sodium, like salt, can you know, make you want to eat more. But yeah, that's a really good question. I never expected to hear that one.
So
Are
why
you
why I
happy with
say
your
that?
weight?
No,
Do you think you're underweight?
not at all. Not at all. I'm overweight. So I've got like 10 kilograms to lose.
Yeah. Kevin,
And when I've
can
gone
I
on,
answer that one?
yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. For context, Chris was a personal trainer for 8 years. Yeah.
Yeah. So Melanie, I've had that question many times before, and I don't want to steal the spotlight from Kevin, but basically your body is in survival mode. So because you're eating so little, when you eat, it wants to store all the nutrients it has because you eat so little. So it's in the mindset of let's store for one day when you need to do a fight or flight situation because it's all about survival when it comes to your body and absorbing nutrients and being ready to survive. So you just need to up your metabolism by eating smaller amounts of food every 3 to 2 hours, even if it's just a snack, just to get the metabolic rate going again. That's basically what you need to do.
that I will.
I
Thank
love
you.
that. I love that. The other thing you could do, which would really help you on this journey, I feel, is track it.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you're going to do the small portions to help speed things up, is just track it as well. So you know exactly what's going on in your body. So um it, actually here's what you want to do, Melanie. You want to go to your local gym. Most gyms have them, and get a DEXA scan. Okay. Because that's going to give you your basal metabolic rate, which is the rate at which you burn calories. Okay. So for example, mine it's just over 2000. Actually, let me pull up um, let me pull up a scan so you can see the info in it. 1 second. Okay. All right, I should be able to share this. It's a PDF on my desktop, but I'll just show you what this looks like. These, like I said, this was a game changer for me. Window. No, it won't let me. It's a shame. I can only share tabs and windows. Okay. But basically it'll give you your basal metabolic rate, so the rate at which you burn calories. It'll give your metabolic age. Okay, so I'm not sure how old you are. You don't need to tell me, but it'll be higher or lower depending on you know what you're doing. It also gives you your impedance in ohms. So that's like basically, and Chris, correct me. You've got a lot more experience in this than me if I'm wrong, but it's basically your cells. So how think of like a grape compared to a prune. If they're plump and healthy and nutrient rich, and able to absorb and all the rest of it and do the job properly, compared to sort of dried and not completely themselves. Is that right, Chris?
That is correct. Yeah, the body is quite
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. So get a DEXA scan, and they don't cost much at all. And if you're a member of a gym, they're probably including them for free. But it'll give you a lot of the data. But once you have that data, you then have something to go off, right? Because you can say, okay, well, this is how many calories I burn per day, if I did no workouts. Okay, so let's say it was 1,500 calories. So I know that if I eat more than that, I'm going to store. So the goal isn't to necessarily cut or be in a calorie surplus, but it's to get that up, as Chris said, by eating the smaller portions to speed up your metabolism. So hopefully 2-3 months down the track, you have another scan, and let's say it's gone from 1500 to 1750. And because you're tracking your calories on, say, MyFitnessPal, you know exactly where you're in a surplus or in a deficit. Okay. I just from what you've told me, okay, I would suggest you don't necessarily want to cut or even be in a surplus. Just like Chris said, just smaller portions and try and speed it up. Once you've got it sped up, then there's going to be no problem sort of, going forward, shifting that 10 kg. I hope that answers it.
Yeah, great
Yeah.
answer, Kevin. We've got another question here from Stephanie. Just before we move on, she asked, how important was it for you to understand the why, the reason for you eating wrongly and having bad habits?
Yeah.
Good question.
I mean, it was night and day, right? And it wasn't till I took that time out, that space out, I can still see myself on the picnic table outside on his deck outside the batch and just reading. And there was me, my cousin, and a friend of his, and they're talking shit, whatever, having a beer, and I'm just immersed in this book and just thinking about transforming my life. The why is really important. I don't feel I struggled with a why. My wife and I have 7 children, so there's 8 reasons right there. And I don't think I struggled with it. I think it was literally the approach I was taking. It never even occurred to me that I use my mind, even though all the decisions we make, like that late night snack, that's your mind. Okay. Choosing, say, full sugar Coke instead of water, that's your mind. You know what I mean? Not going to the gym and staying in bed, that's your mind. It just, for some reason, never occurred to me until I picked up this book and went all in on it. But yeah, there's a lot on the why. There's also shifting your identity, right? Internal identity and external. There's so much in that. Yeah. Let me jump into emotional eating. This is one of the things that kept me stuck for the longest time. I would stress and then eat. And I'm not exaggerating when I say, something would happen, insert stressful situation. And I would open, let's say if there was a bag, I'm a real savory fiend. Let's say there's a bag of chips. I would open it and think, I'm going to eat a chip or two. And my wife will testify to this. 10 minutes later, I'm daydreaming, sitting at the kitchen island in a chair with an empty bag, and I don't remember eating it. It's just feeding the stress, trying to calm the stress, trying to numb the pain. And sometimes it would even go on to more, whip down a Macca's or whatever, because that would give me that short-term relief from that pain, right? And whereas now it's different. So now I pause, okay, and there's different tools that I'll reach for. So I might do some breathing, 6, 7, 8, or some box breathing that'll change my state. I might chuck on a piece of music. I might literally just jump down and do 10 push-ups. Anything that can stop yourself in the heat of the moment when you're about to dive into the fridge or the pantry, because all it is learned behavior. I'm feeling this, and immediately running to the action of calming that stress instead of thinking about it. So just that simple act of pausing, thinking, and then taking a different action, okay, can really help just settle those cravings. Cold water is a game changer too. Has anyone done? Oh, let's get some questions on that in case there are any. Anyone? Does that resonate with anyone? Is anyone an emotional eater here? Like, you could be lonely or sad or something's happened, and you'll see these movies where they're on the couch eating the ice cream, crying or whatever. Is anyone an emotional eater? No? Oh, Chris, there we go. Yeah, yeah. What triggers you, Chris?
And Claire, well, I love food.
Yeah.
Honestly, I love food.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah. Good.
my star sign evidently is also a pig. So it
Oh,
fits my description quite nice. Yeah, my Chinese
yeah. Yeah. Ah, I'm the same. I'm the same. We're fellow pigs.
sign.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Yeah. So that's a big one. Just that simple act of pausing and just thinking for a moment, okay, this feels familiar, but I'm no longer gonna use food as a tool to do that, right? Um, and of course, it's the last thing you want to enter in your app when you've just picked out on multiple things. You're like, goodness me, look at those calories. Um, yeah, yeah. I'm just reflecting on my notes here. Breathe, push-ups, music, cold water. Those are my go-tos. Go-tos there. Um, yeah. Any more questions around dropping the weight, or where are some of you stuck? Does anyone want to lose a few pounds? Maybe it's a few pounds, maybe it's a few more. And they've been trying things, but nothing's working. Yeah, Melanie.
Kevin, I do think a lot of it is the mindset about how important is it? Because, for me, it's like, yeah, it's something I've got to get to. And I know I need to do it, but then I do have the habit for a few days and then it drops again. So I go like, I'm going to eat like 5 times a day for a few days and then I drop. So what is that mind shift that I can take that will help me to actually stick to eating 5 times a day?
Oh, that's a really great question, and I do have an answer for you. So early on, before well, actually I delved into a little bit of a tracking app, but what I decided to do was grab A3 sheets of paper, okay, and I made up my own graphs with like an XY axis, right, with my weight, and down the bottom was a timeline, and whether it was just when I wanted to lose weight by, or I had an event coming up or something like that, I would draw a line from my current weight down to the time that I wanted to lose that by, and I'd weigh myself every day, and I'd put little dots, and I'd make my own graph, and hopefully it would ride that line. Might be up, might be down, but it would ride that line. And so it was gamifying that little process, right? So whether you need to have, let's say, 5 boxes on a hard card, and maybe you've got 7 cards in your handbag or whatever, one for each day, right? And it starts over on the week, and at the end of each, and when you have that meal, you check that off. Some way you can gamify it where you get a little dopamine hit, or it sounds silly, but a gold star or something, and you're just like, boom, I've done that, I've done that, I've done that. And at the end of the day, you're collating all those points on what you did. And then the next day, if you achieved it, you'd try and get on a streak, like a winning streak. Okay. Or if you missed one, you would try to do better the next day. And so at the end of the week, let's say you want to eat 5 times a day. And I actually used to eat 6 times a day. And so what Chris said really resonated with me. That helped me through a period around about 20 years ago. So it really does work. And then at the end of the week, if you're eating 5 times a day, okay, 7 days, that's 35. And so you'd give yourself a score out of 35. So let's say it was 31 out of 35, or it was 27 or whatever, and you're just trying to up it, right? Until you get that perfect week, or maybe you're collating a month's score. And then maybe there's something really nice that you want to do. Maybe it's you like to go out and have a massage or a facial, or there's been something, there's something you've been wanting, and you think, if I achieve this, I'm going to get that. So by playing these little games with yourself, it can really help give you those rewards, that little dopamine hit every 2 to 3 hours, because you're getting closer to the thing that you want to achieve, right? So I would do them in both small pockets, meaning daily, weekly, and I would do them longer pockets. I mean, some of my charts would go for 3 months, You know, if I had an event coming up or it was a big enough amount of weight, I wanted to drop. And it really helped me because I wanted to be under that line, you know, each time. So yeah, so I hope that helps. There's a gazillion different habit trackers out there, and there will be a number that'll be free. There'll be some that'll be paid. There'll be some that give you free trials. But if you get a habit tracker, and when you hit all 5 boxes, it'll give you a little notification sound and everything will go green, or, you know, a starburst will come out or something like that. It'll say you're awesome, you know. Something that'll give you that little hit could really help. You just need to get through to the next meal, to the next day, to the next week, right? Because once you get on that streak, you start building that habit. So yeah, I hope that helps, Melanie. Yeah. Gamify it, have fun with it. Yeah. So with my walks, because I was doing like 5Ks a day, and at the moment I'm doing a bit of a final cut. So my last scan that I had, I was at, and this might go a little bit over your head, so I'll make it super quick, but I was at 15.7% body fat, and my goal is to get under 12. Not for life. I would be happy between 12 and 15. That's a really healthy range, but I've just, you know, never been that. You know, I was a chubby kid as well, and it's just, for me, it creates a bit of a safety buffer as well. So now I'm doubling my case. So one thing I did is, if you put something right in your way, like I mentioned the water bottle beside your bed, right? Okay. If you put something top of mind, give me a second with this. If you put something top of mind, then what happens is it's always in your face and you remember it. So what I did the other day, I decided, hey, I'm gonna aim for sort of 14,000 steps a day, which turns out to be roughly, you know, a little over 10K. I thought I need to put the widget on my phone. So I have the widget on my phone there, and you can see today I've done 15,000 steps, 12 kilometers. Okay. But that is now there. And what happens, we talked about gamifying that ring. This is just built into the Apple, right? It's called steps. That ring will close the closer you get to your goal. So you set your goal and you'll see this ring visually closing. So for me, it's gamifying it to the point where last night I was walking in the bush on a bush track and it was almost dark. And I didn't close the circle, and I thought, goodness me, I've got to do this. So I go from where I was parked down the road, which is like another K away. I'm just like looking at my phone, waiting for it to close the rings. I ring my wife, hey, I'm waiting for these rings to close. I may be sometime. And I just kept walking because I'm not gonna fail at this, which is a good segue into another point. The more times you give up, you just lose trust with yourself. I had no trust with myself. You know, we all have these friends or acquaintances, and we just, you know, we're not. They might say they'll do this or whatever, and we sort of, you know, they're those people, and you don't know if they'll come through. You know, they haven't got a good track record. Well, imagine if that's you, and you're not coming through for yourself. So by stacking these little habits and by gamifying it, you're really going to help rebuild trust with yourself, Melanie. And, you know, you then become the kind of person who does what you say you're going to do, you know, with your own body. We'll often go out of our way to do something for someone else. We're not going to let them down. But how many times do we let ourselves down? Right. So, yeah, that was a bit of a rant, eh?
I think it's the talking as well, isn't it? You talk about mindset, but it is that internal voice in yourself as well. And, you know, we do need to be kind with ourselves, but on the same time, you know, the kind of walk the walk and talk the talk. It's that, you know, how accountable am I to myself?
Yeah. So true, Claire. My first guest on the podcast is a lady. She's a business coach, and a lady by the name of Kickhouse Kylie, her name is. Okay. And she's based in the beautiful Whitsundays in Queensland, Australia. And she has this, I'm not even going to repeat it because I'll botch it up, but she has this long affirmation, and it's something like, I'm a happy, healthy, sexy, something. And then she inserts her weight, blah, blah, blah. And she says it in the mirror to herself, and while she's walking here and there and all the rest of it. She was featured in that video. She was the one that says, you can't even get dressed, tie her own shoes, and little bit of a spoiler, but if you watch that episode, it's actually called episode 2 because episode 1 was my intro, the one you just watched. She used to own 13 gyms. She was a black belt in Taekwondo, and yet she gained 55 kgs. Okay. So she let herself go, marriage of 20 years ended, and it was a massive spiral. It's a crazy story. Yeah, these things come to try us. But yeah, having that identity shift. I remember the very first day that I started. It was January 4th, 2021, and I was 128.1 kgs, right? And I walked up this mountain. So we have this bush track. Off the bush track is a track up to the mountain. And if you're fit, like I can do it in 20 minutes, no problem now. It took me 35 minutes, but I was determined not to lean on one single tree or sit down on the bench halfway because I didn't want a crutch. I wanted to be able to do it under my own power. Stopped a number of times, but I kept going. But I had that vision of myself, okay? And this might seem crazy or even slightly weird, but I had cut out, I must have printed them. I don't think I got them from magazines, but I'd cut out pictures of the physique that I wanted, but I cut their heads off because I'm married and not gay. But I put them on my door of the office. And it was just, this is the physique I want. So every time I'm walking out the office door, I see my new physique, even though it wasn't mine, right? There was no faces looking back at me. It was just, that's the body I'm going for. So, visualizing that happy, healthy self. Meditation is big. I'm not sure how many of you guys meditate. That didn't help me in the beginning because I was never consistent with it. But now I've dived a lot into Joe Dispenza's work, and there's an amazing book called The Habit. What is it? Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. And very, very powerful. But yeah, meditation can really help, and we get off track a bit, but can really help just center you. I have something called the focus formula, and I learned this from a guy who's a mindset coach, and I won't bring it up, but I won't share it, but I'll just bring up the framework. You may want to take notes on this. This is a really crazy hack to power your brain up and manifest in the morning, right? So we start with accomplishments. So I have 10 things that I've accomplished that are amazing accomplishments that I've done in my life, and they could be business or they could be personal, right? And then we have aspirations, and I have a vision of my dream home here. And for context, it's a big home with a pool, obviously, and sprawling decks, but it's on land because my whole vision is to build these little villas for all the kids so that, as we get older, they can come back and everyone's got their own space, right? But at the top of it, I've got free, fearless, and innovator. Okay. And then you go into your personal identity. What is it? I aim to be present in every area of my life. When I speak with people, I give them my full attention. When I'm working, I'm not distracted. Bold. I won't let fear drive my life. I live bold and with courage. Inspire. I inspire people to live the life of their dreams. My words, actions, the way I live my life. And then it goes into ideal, routine, and standards. And then actual goals, and then a stack of affirmations. The point being is I'll chuck on alpha brainwaves, okay, and I'll meditate, and usually for about 10 minutes, and I'll get my state, and I'll get my brain into a state of alpha, sometimes even theta, and then I will read through that. And you're just like a sponge taking this in, and it's just reinforcing all those things. So that's way off track, but that's something I do that helps me today. Cool. Okay. What else were we going to discuss, Chris?
Kevin, can I hit you with
Yeah,
a
yeah,
few
yeah.
questions?
Yeah. Let's go.
So Stephanie asked, would you agree that becoming more conscious about food, so the reason for eating and what you are eating is important?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Absolutely. I can't remember the name of the woman, but I heard it once on a podcast about 2 years ago. And she was saying, I don't think of food as food. I think of food as fuel. And that just always stuck with me. And so when you're eating, if you can get a good balance of protein, fiber, which is carbohydrates, but the fiber is really important, right? And fats, then you're getting this well-rounded structure and meal. So sorry, I forgot the question again. I might have more detail on that. Could you read it out again?
Yeah, so what is the reason for eating and what are you eating is important? So what reason for eating and what are eating is important. But
What reason for
I think
eating?
you've answered the question. It's just being conscious, tracking what you eat, wholesome foods, it's around that more or less.
Yeah. It's I mean, obviously we eat for survival, right? When we're hungry, we eat. But we also may eat when we're not hungry. And this is where, and you might be aware of it or not, it might be subconscious, right? This is where those cravings can come in. You got to ask yourself, is that a craving? Or am I just trying to, answer some kind of emotion? Am I trying to put something to rest? So finding out if you're really hungry is a good idea. And you'll know, because I mean, if it's been, a few hours since you've eaten, then you're obviously hungry. But if you ate an hour ago and you're thinking, I'm a little snacky now, I might eat this or that. Why? Pause. Drinking cold water can really help stave off hunger. Um, so so yeah, understanding and knowing why you're eating to fuel your body. That's literally all you're doing. But if you go a layer deeper, let's say you're doing a morning meditation and you visualize your cells literally getting nutrients, okay, and just almost being happy. Imagine if you had this crazy visualization where all your cells turn into smiley faces, okay, because you're feeding them nutrients. It can change the way you think about what you put in your body, compared to like a Big Mac and large fries, that have just been cooked in fat, um, just being conscious of what you eat and what you're putting in your body. And this is where that tool, MyFitnessPal, can really help you out, because you've got to log it. So you are accountable to log your food. And if you make a deal with yourself that, hey, I'm going to log this food no matter what, and you're putting that in, you're going to be beating yourself up a little bit. Man, I wish I didn't have to put that in, but at least you're being honest, right? You're putting it in. But the next day, you're definitely going to try harder, because you're not going to want to make that same mistake if you went over the set amount of calories that you've set, which ties back into, again, the DEXA scan, getting that basal metabolic rate, what your maintenance calories should be, because then you're going to know how much food you can consume, what you should set your goals to inside the MyFitnessPal app. I hope that didn't sort of, I'm not sure how much experience is in the room as far as, logging and calories and macros and that sort of thing. But yeah, are there more questions, Chris?
Yeah, well, thanks. Great answer. Then Philippe, just want to say thank you. Philippe's been posting all the book links there for us. I'll have to start sending him commission on our side. Always
Nice,
helping
Philippe.
out. Yeah, no, Philippe also asked, how do you deal with willpower? It's also quite a good question.
Ah,
Mm.
that is such a good question. I'm glad you asked that. Um, do not rely on your willpower. Like, if we all relied on willpower, we'd all have six-pack abs and be multi-millionaires, right? Um, we we don't do what we set out to do a lot of the times. You need to rely on systems. Okay. And this is the single thing that eluded me for so many years, and why I stayed overweight. And if I had stayed on that trajectory, I'm sure would have ended up in serious health consequences for me. Setting up the habits, reading that book and setting up that habit stacking, that was my system. I do this, immediately followed by that, and then I do that. Okay. If you're just thinking, oh yeah, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do that. I've done this a million times, by the way, and it just doesn't work. I feel I've got a really strong will. Actually, I'd say yeah, I'd say a number of you have, especially if you're in business, because it takes a bit, right, to get out of bed in the morning sometimes and just get into it. You don't have to be there on a deadline for a boss or anything like that, but relying on your own willpower, and in my experience, there's just a better way to do it, is just set up systems for yourself, and then they become automatic, right? You don't need to think about it. You know what you're doing next. Like I don't need to think about walking in the morning, because I know after I drink 2 glasses of water, I'm having black coffee with a pinch of cinnamon. And after I have that, I am out the door going for a walk. It's just something that I do. I'm not battling. And the other thing is, how much energy does that zap? Like, how many of you have whatever laid on the couch, and whether it was, something you had to do in your home, like a chore, or whether it was working out or whatever, and you've debated with yourself for an hour, yeah, I better get up and do that. So, and what's happened to that hour? You've just been in turmoil, right? Just not enjoying it at all. So yeah, Philippe, I hope that answers that. And you, my friend, must have incredible willpower, because your silent retreats, it must take a bit of willpower not to talk for 30 days. That's for sure.
Yeah, I'm very impressed.
Before we get into there may be some questions around changing your niche, or doing something you love. And I have a cool story around that, actually, something that really sort of solidified it for me. But before we get into that, has anyone here experimented with fasting at all?
Kevin, I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to cut in. We are running out of time.
Oh, 8 o'clock. Yeah. Okay. Got it.
Time flew past very quickly. So just is anyone else just wanna add in something quick before we end the session? Melanie says, I'd love to know more about fasting. I think we need to get Kevin back on again then.
Just any questions post this session, just I'm on Instagram. It's 100 the digits _pounds to freedom. Just send me a DM and we can go back and forth. And
Awesome.
yeah,
awesome. Thanks everyone for being here live, and Kevin, sharing the knowledge, sharing your experience, really much appreciated. One thing that I used to say to the people that I used to do assessments with, and asking all these questions about why should I start, why should I not, I always like to say, you don't want a doctor telling you you need to do this now, or you'll have a certain amount of months or years left. That's a complete game changer. So you don't want something like that to happen to you. So yeah, great initiative, Kevin. Love what you're doing, and you look great, man. We can really see that. For those that know Kevin, you can really see the difference in him. It's amazing.
Thank you so much, Chris. Appreciate you. Thanks, guys, for showing up. It would have been lonely without you.
Thanks, everyone. We'll see you guys again next week. Have a great week ahead, and cheerio.
Bye.
Thanks, Kevin.